And it's bacchanal you want? Let me go. Yes. Hey, I'm on lyrics now. They keep a press conference last week Saturday because Dr. Raholi had something to say. I say he could lock down what he want as long as he open restaurant. You know the man tell we about construction and coin laundry, and he keeping the SOE just so. And then the man ain't free the restaurant industry. What about curbside and delivery? He say no. Dr. Rowley, please. I fed up eat peas. I want to go. Let me go. I want to go. So let me go. Oh. Hey, welcome back to everybody who's been listening. Welcome to all the new listeners. This is episode 57 of the Corey Shepherd podcast. Taking Brigo, man. Oh. Yes? Ba-ba-da-bam. Yes, song boy? I wonder if I have a next verse in there, boy. Boy, I get so angry. This man wastes my time. Still can't sweat or exercise or go beach and lime. I say I'm going and vote in UNC. But then they send a press release to me. I take back my vote one time because Kamala done lost she mind. A press release for the second time. Right bad so. I don't know what she mean when she complaining about vaccine. And when they ask she if she get jab, she say no. I want to tell Rowley and KPB, all you had to go. The boat of all you go. All your clothes don't show. All you go. Oh. Yeah. Hey, let me leave this singing to Brigo, boy. Yes, I want to cry. I want to cry. It's too much pressure. We can't take no more lockdown. Yes? Oh, gosh. All your clothes don't show. And buying Prado, I want to go. All right, let me get serious now. Welcome to everybody. I think I do that already, right? So let me get into some serious matters now. Long week, right? All right, Brigo, easy. That is the man Brigo. If you don't know Brigo, you know Brigo now. You must know Brigo, man. Great. So listen, thanks for all the good feedback on the last episode. Like I tell everybody who was telling me about the last episode and which songs, I get real bad up for song I ain't played to win. Apparently, a lot of people know a lot of wins for Divine songs, so a lot of people reach out to me and they ain't play this and they ain't play that. Listen, it was done 2 hours already. I can't go for much longer than that. But again, salute to Wins for Divine. The day we released the podcast last week, they had his funeral and they bury him that day. So salute to a legend. We'll never stop saluting him, and don't worry about it. If you ain't here, your favorite Wins for Divine song, you go hear it. You just keep listening. You must hear it across all the episodes. And I want to say a special salute to King Crazy, who was front and center at the funeral, a true friend and a true legend, who wasn't just there, He wasn't just there to show reverence and presence and be there for his friend in his last journey, but he was there and leading a chorus on his songs and singing word for word, not just the songs he write for Crazy, but I see him singing Progress and sing word for word. So Crazy is a legend on his own, and it was nice to see him there, and so many people there with him, of course, his loved ones there to see him off and singing his songs and contributing to it. So I'm glad to see that, and rest in peace to the great Wins for Divine. Do your own research, right, and find out more about him. I had a few conversations this week with people asking me about, how we could change it, how we gonna get this man work along with all the other literary geniuses that we have in the country. We're gonna get their work in the schools and accepted as something that not just on the curriculum, but examinable, something that we have to learn about. so that we don't lose these things. You know, it's such a scary thing to think that the generations who come in after us might know some of these songs. I mean, salute to people like Swappy who give life. I don't really like the refix thing too much when he take up feeling it and he make his own version of that. But I think he do a real good job. If he could do justice to it, and I know Baron was in the video with him and everything, so he had Baron blessings to do the song. You will see more and more of that. And all the biggest artists we have in soca, maybe I would do a breakdown of that in an episode to come, you know. A lot of the biggest artists, when I say like Marshall, Bungie, Fair, and Destra, Patrice, Swappy now, a lot of them take elements, deliberately so I feel, take elements of older songs and bring them into the carnival today. So we fetting and jamming to some of them songs and mightn't always know that mightn't always know the original creator of the song, writer, arranger, producer, and of course artist. So salute to them, and we'll do more of that. Of course, we will always keep the music as part of the episode. So if you ain't hear your favorite Divine, don't worry about it. Joker songs can't stop playing in this thing. So where we starting? We starting with the lockdown thing out. I don't know. Everybody must have seen the same McDonald's advertisement I see, because I remember last time they had a lockdown, right? Last time we were locked down like this, if only remember, we saw KFC doing deliveries the day before he made the announcement that restaurants going to open back for not dining but pick up and takeaway, I should say, takeaway, curbside pickup, delivery, everything had opened back the same time. So when we see the McDonald's thing come out, everybody started to feel a little glad, like, if you know what I mean, some food could sell. And it's not the thing about that I go make joke and complain about the peas and thing. It's not just that, you know. People fed up cooking. I mean, Stacey don't complain about it, surprisingly. I always get she talk and thing. Although she says she ain't cooking nothing for me after the last episode about peas. The peas still there. But she in the kitchen right through is every meal. You underestimate that, you know, boy, how much food you buy out. I mean, I like the fact that we saving money, that you ain't buying no food, but I don't understand. Again, I'm going back to my original point about this whole thing, where the issue I have is not what opening or what closed or how long this lasted. And we have a SOE. Keep in mind that this state of emergency haven't been extended for 3 months. This not finishing until the 22nd of August this year. So we know we're close to the end of a state of emergency. I am sure they could call it off at any time they want. But we see the numbers going down, at least in terms of the way the virus is spreading. Sadly, we're still in a situation where, again, double-digit deaths every day. That's a scary thought. But you're seeing where the virus itself slowing down from numbers as high as 500 and 600 a day to 100 a day kind of thing. So all of us expecting some kind of freedom. And I mean, I talking about restaurants and things selfishly, because I just want to be able to buy food, you know what I mean? I want to getting to eat. Salute to Fifth Street Market for feeding me over the weekend. They are great. Them fellas are real good options. Cook food, finish cook already. Real good options. But outside of just my selfish needs for restaurants, you had to remember that people now working for a long time. As I said last week, KFC take the stipend off. As a business, you had to figure something out, because I don't know which business could stay closed, have zero revenues, and continue to pay people for months at a time. Big or small business, that's not sustainable. That's not going to continue to happen. So people suffering, you know what I mean? I'm not sure how come when we talk about this or we have issue with it, or I see some business people blatantly say, listen, I'm going to open today. I want to call no names. I mean, one of them is my partner. I see he say, you going to open me bike shop. He opening. He ain't care. And then a very big cloth store owner say he going to open today. I didn't see, up to Monday, I didn't see if they open or yet. I ain't getting no report, open or not, I should say. I ain't getting no reports on that or anything. But I'm sure it will be in the papers and thing Tuesday morning if he had decided to open. But it's like the lack of planning or the lack of a communicated plan to people is what frustrating, because I don't know where the laundry thing come out. It was so arbitrary last week anyway when he said government construction but not private sector construction. So confusing, because as far as I'm concerned, the government builds nothing. All the work that the government's built, let me be careful because I don't want to go and say Chinese and get buff up like my boy in the press conference. But the government's work is going through private contractors, not so? So if they open back the public sector construction, It's same private companies who want to bring people back out. But I don't know what's the logic. If they feel like they'll open back private sector one time, if it would be too much people on the road, I don't know, boy. I'm tired. I can't even keep up with what they're saying and what's the logic behind it. I feel sorry for people. Like right in my neighborhood here, they have a couple people who build in their house right now. I know what it is feel like, and you might know it too. When you borrow money to build your house and you're paying bridging finance. Every month you're paying this bridging amount that not going towards your capital repayment. That is interest alone, and every month you have to find that, regardless of if you reach where you're going with the building. Well, once you borrow a certain amount of money, if you draw down 100 grand, you have interest to pay on that. I am not sure what is happening with people who stuck where construction is concerned because of a lockdown. I want to hope that the banks telling people, boy, knowing banks in this country or knowing banks in general, I doubt the bank telling people, well, here we're going on. You don't have to pay any bridging finance until you start back construction. I doubt that. So when I watch people, like a neighbor here, I don't know the people, but I see their billing here. And their house on a standstill for however long because construction closed. It was so confusing last week when he say a public sector construction alone. It's like, dude, why? How are you coming up with these things? So he come and he say, no, private sector construction open, so man could go and build their own house, so private, that back on stream. So I'm grateful, happy for the people who working in construction. You could go out and that's daily paid and weekly paid people and say, that is not people who will be getting a salary every month regardless of if they work or not. Like politicians who get a salary every month whether they work or not. So I'm glad for them that they're going back out to work. But when you open back construction, I trying to figure out like who have the money in this July, August here to pay for construction to continue or to start or whatever it is. I'm trying to figure out who. Because that private sector construction, I feel that they're talking about opening back there, that will really pick back up at a pace, is large private sector construction. Like if you look by as you're coming up the highway, when you check the passing Chagonas there by Unipet gas station, they have a big mall. It look like a plaza or something being built there. I had to think that when you open back up construction, is them you have in mind who doing big construction, because I don't know who doing a set of work to add on thing on their house, or if you're building a house and you're paying bridging, you probably had to continue building and you're glad for this opportunity. But it seems to be that had to be targeting big business and people who doing government contracts, particularly. So that open back, I'm glad for people, as I say, people getting a little opportunity to make some money. Thank God for that. And then of all the industries, laundry. Listen, I was so confused. Everybody confused. They don't have a cousin named P&M Pete. Them fellas can't even defend the P&Mites having problems defending this. The best bet is to just avoid the topic as a whole. Nobody can seem to reason, like give me some logical explanation for how laundry, the thing about it, right, is laundries make the list of being freed up when they never made the list of being locked down. There was no point when they were announcing the types of companies that are locking down or the type of businesses. I never hear laundry mentioned in the lockdown at all. But somehow laundries were given priority. So when you open back up, you ease your way into construction by going public sector first with 1 week. Enough change for you to say private could roll. In midweek, in between that, no press conference needed for that. And taxis went from, I think, 50 to 75%, if I'm not mistaken. No, it was increased. The capacity for hired vehicles like taxis and maxis and things changed. That was a normal announcement. And then laundries make it. So who needs to launder clothes? Is money laundering or clothes laundering? I don't know which laundry he was talking about, but let me assume it's clothes laundry. Who have this need to launder clothes, and why is that seen as a priority? So we're talking about not leaving home and shelter in place and social distance and stay home if you say, we're talking about all them things. Stay home. Don't leave home if you don't need to, right? Why anybody would need to go to a laundry at this point in time? Is it for people who work in, like if you're still at work, right? I'm trying to figure this out as I'm talking to you. Like, let me say politicians, they're working right now, right? Is this a selfish thing where all you're wearing all your suit? Because, I mean, you can't beat a Dr. Hines suit, and Dr. Hines has some suit there. When I see the kind of suit this man wears and the kind of colors he matches now, I feel that is why laundries was open. I feel as he self make that recommendation because that man run out of suit and thing. Them said a pitch shirt with a khaki suit and thing. He had to run out of suits and they say, boy, you ever going on? We go open laundries for you. So you go head down, you go head down by them and get your thing. Start back now. Start back from when the lockdown start and go back to that suit. Other than them politicians and thing who wearing suits all the time, most of us working from home by law, by instruction. So who exactly we opening back the laundries for? Like for what? I'm trying to figure this out. I see some people say it's our people who do have a washing machine home and who don't get running water to their house and thing. And I mean, okay. I don't see how them people not going by clean right and these types of laundries, right? If you can afford a washing machine or whatsoever the case might be, or you're not running water, I doubt you carrying all your clothes by them laundry. That would cost you a pound and a crown. So maybe what it is like coin laundry. I used to have a coin laundry in St. James back in the day. I don't even know how much of them exist anymore. But I suppose they do, people who living in small apartments, people who living off campus and thing. But I mean, last I checked, the campus and all clothes it's like what? And again, it speaks to no clear plan. It speaks to making it up as you go along. I am convinced now that the reason the press conference start late without fail, every single week it late, is because they're having a rushed meeting right before. They say, oh God, we had to talk 2 o'clock. Let me meet fast. You know what I mean? And when 2 o'clock come, they're now wrapping up the meeting to head over to say what they have to say. But it haphazard, it's just arbitrary. And you see this idea that you're a business owner and you had to sit down now on the government and wait to find out like when you could open, please. I had to think, and McDonald's had to make an apology for the ad. It looked like McDonald's itself tell itself, well, all right, he bound to open restaurants now. And I'm not understanding still, if you're going to open back construction and thing, you're putting a burden now on the little retail that's open, which is pharmacies and groceries. Because people going to need to buy food, people on the road, they need more stuff and things. So more people going to be going into the limited places that open. But hey, listen, this one too hard for me to understand, boy. I can't figure out. You only might have better ideas for me. Because, and it comes down to this. If you make a clear plan and communicate it to people, it will have less of this kind of guessing game. But I think they like the guessing game. I get to believe that Rowlers himself liked the idea of the press conference when he could come and pose up. It's political campaign, so he could come and talk and everybody had to pay attention to him and the whole nation had to stop and watch and, you make the announcement Friday for Saturday. Is real bravado and grandiose for nothing. Because nothing he say in that press conference Saturday. I wonder if he had Twitter. Rowley had Twitter and thing. You could have just tweeted and say, listen, laundries could open back and construction, private sector, all you go ahead. And save we like an hour of rambling on and on and on before you could say what it is. But again, that's a salute to the people who did construction or they get a little money, or they get a little opportunity to get some money. The borders open July 17th. It's pretty clear now what needs to be done. We're coming into or going out of the country. We're also coming in. So if you're coming in, you need to show a negative PCR test. I think they say within 72 hours or whatever, it's 3 days, they say you have to bring in negative tests. You must show that you're vaccinated and you have a quarantine period at your own expense. A lot of countries doing that. I understand they were doing that in Canada as well. You had to go back and quarantine for, if it's not 5, it's 7 days or some period like that. So I remember from when I talked to Pablo, my partner Pablo, he came back to work offshore. So when he came back into the country, he was quarantined. I think it was for 14 days at that point in time. So I'm not sure what's the quarantine period at this point. But if you're coming back in, and I have a podcast, I'm good. I want to call her name now. A podcast listener who finally, she was one of the first people to reach out to me when the borders were closed and she couldn't come back and has been abroad all this time. And she messaged me the other day and finally said she getting to come back with these, she got her exemption. Imagine that. The border's going to open back in a week and a half and you now get your exemption. But I'm glad, you know what I mean? You get to come home and sort out your business and them things. Them things is, that's good. That had to be good news. I would assume, because I've seen a lot of talk about where you could travel and where you can't travel if you get the Sinopharm vaccine in particular. And I had to assume that Sinopharm is the most, the what is called that prevalent? What's the word I'm looking for? Like the vaccine that we use the most here is Sinopharm, right? That's the ones we had the largest quantities of and we gave out. That will probably be eclipsed by Johnson & Johnson at some point. But for now, it's Sinopharm. And they're saying now more and more you hear in news that countries not going to accept people who have the Sinopharm vaccine. You got to get some other vaccine or a booster or whatever it is. But I had to assume that we accepting anybody for the vaccines that we accept. So once you have a WHO vaccine, assuming you could come in the country and things. So, I mean, that's good news. The border open. So that is something to celebrate. Thinking, well, I too went and get my vaccine this week, thanks to my guy Bert. I get through with a little vaccine. Bert, and you see in Trinidad is who you know and who know you. Out of the blue, while I'm looking for this list and that list to add myself to, my guy Bert come through and call and say, listen, go in the Savannah. When was that? I think Friday or Saturday. And me and Stacey both went and get vaccinated. I feel good. I had no problems. A lot of people said that too. People say the second shot is the one where you're feeling sick. But I was good. I didn't feel no way after the vaccine at all. And looking at the border opening, right? Because I have a partner who take 2 AstraZeneca and a Pfizer. Let me explain, right? He take the AstraZeneca first because that was available in his country where he is. And then he had to go to the States. So when he went to the States, they was giving out Pfizer. So he went and take that one time. And then when he went back where he come from, or where he live in, the company told him he must have before he started travel on the company behalf, he must have a completed vaccine of one of the vaccine brands. So he had to go and take the final AstraZeneca shot too. So I'm thinking now that with the Sinopharm, if the Sinopharm suspect, I tell already the Seychelles story already, I don't want to influence nobody to or away from taking the vaccine. I think you should take whatever available. But if that's suspect and there's a problem with travel concern, I feel my best bet is to figure out how we're going to travel between the 17th and the end of the year. And find my way to get a Pfizer or Moderna vaccine over there. Here, you could just go in Walgreens or CVS and say, I want a vaccine, somebody to make a vaccine in the airport and all. I feel like I'll take a little, whichever one is the traveling one. Or maybe, I don't know how it's work with Johnson & Johnson. I one shot, right? So maybe if Johnson & Johnson come and I could get through with that, I'll probably go and take that Johnson & Johnson and see if I could get, I want a restriction when it comes to traveling. The only luck we don't, as Brigo say, I want to go, man. I find like only luck we don't for long. So I'm going to find a way out of this country. But again, I was making a joke in his song in the beginning about Rowley and his statements and then Kamala. I don't understand what's going on with the opposition and their press releases. I hear in a talk they're saying people talking about this Kirk Mayhew who writing them things. Boy, no, Kirk Mayhew, funny enough, I was telling him a story about Lockjack and Wade Mark. But when I was in Lockjack, keep in mind that I leave Lockjack somewhere around 2006, 6, I think. And then in 2010 was when the People's Partnership come and win, right? And they were talking about the connection between the People's Partnership and Lockjack. Coincidentally, Lockjack lecturers and things was the same people who work on the 2020 vision document for Patrick Manning, right? So somehow Lockjack embroiled in getting people in power or political planning at that time. But some of my lecturers when I was in Lockjack would include Kirk Mayhew, Roger Hossain, Wayne Monroe, Nan Ramgulam, Therese Baptiste Cornelis. You tell me where them names come from and think if any of them sound familiar. But I just point out it. But anyway, Mayhew was one of the lecturers then, right? And he's a smug kind of guy. He used to kind of talk down to weird kind of way. It has some people want him to know that they're bright. They want it to be known. And he was that kind of guy. Like, I remember him coming to class and saying, I don't suppose y'all know the population of your sister Isle Tobago. I don't suppose y'all... He always used to talk like that. Like, if you don't know nothing and he know a lot of things. You know what I mean? But I don't know if... I definitely feel there has some kind of infighting going on in UNC. I don't think the people in UNC like one another right now. I don't know if election coming up for the UNC internals or what is happening, but these people, there has some kind of infighting. But if it is this Kirk Mayhew who writes in these releases, something real wrong with the UNC. Should I read piece of this, boy? I don't even like to read these things sometimes. Number one, when you write a letter, any letter, you just put at the top of the thing, concerning this, that. The idea behind putting concerning this is so that somebody who reading it could get a gist of what they're going to read. You know what I mean? We don't have time. You know, like, you work and they send in letters. You have plenty letter and email to read and thing. So the subject of our email or the headline on a letter should tell you basically what we're going to talk about. So normally, the normal human being will keep it short, right? So me and know if it's Kirk Megu write this or not. And I don't know if Kamala Pasad said, I doubt she write this. I want to give anybody for the doubt. But here the concern part of the thing now. Here the headline on the letter. Vaccine vagrant Keith Rowley continues to operate like a conman who keeps telling you next week we will get something done. Today, an unkempt and grubby-looking Keith Rowley has again shown himself to be willing to say anything to distract from the fact that he and his failed medical team have no plan to take us out of the crisis. I again call on the government to let all the citizens back to work so they can earn an income to feed their families. The country and our citizens cannot go on suffering this way. That is a letter by itself. How that could be the headline? all you know headlines work. Like, who's writing these things? I have some doubts. Kirk Begu too bright to be writing like this, but he's showing some signs of some political desperation over the past few years that I know. And the letter basically went on to say exactly what the headlines say, and they went on and on about it. And I have real issues with the way Dr. Rowley and the PNM handling this thing. I have real issues with that press conference Saturday. I find he shouldn't have said nothing. You come and mash up Euros and West Indies. Well, let me not even mention West Indies cricketer, because better I'd watch Rowley in the press conference. But during the time, man, looking to watch a little football and thing and take their mind off of some of these stresses, you come to, you know when they say, you come to call a meeting, that could be an email. You could have emailed this or say whatever it say, but I don't know. Kamala Prasad Bises's name is at the bottom of this as signing off on this, and is at the letterhead. And it's not as the head of the UNC, you know. It's as the leader of the opposition, which means this is a serious thing that the media and everybody had to take seriously and respond to or publish. And then Rowley got to come back now and say, well, you don't want me to say what I had to say about you. And I listen, well, yeah. Everybody calm down. I find the thing so serious now. Like we in crucial times. You're looking out there and you're seeing the states. Of course, they had vaccines and access to it long before us. But they just passed their 4th of July celebration. Happy 4th of July to them if that's something we celebrate. And they pretty much open up or get rid of all restrictions. As of the 4th of July, I see Boris come out and say on the 19th of July, UK no longer have any restrictions. People, no social distancing, nothing. You can hug up and kiss people. And they're doing that, and we here still not knowing what is going on, and for some reason emphasizing that schools going and open in September. Like, what is the rush to open schools? I don't know. Like, who have money to buy books and uniform and pay transport and them kind of things to send children back to school in September? Like, why would that be such a priority? And getting people back to work is not a priority. But anyway, the two of them back in and forth, and it's time to find a way to get past. I might be a little ambitious to say get past PNM and UNC, right? It might be too lofty a goal, but we really had to get past Rowley and Kamala. We had to get. It must have other people. It must have somebody else, because two of them, you know, we used to talk about Manning and Pandey and things. I genuinely find them fellas used to attack one another, and if you ask me, them ain't like one another. But I don't remember it being as bad as this. Oh God, them two people can't. Like, they genuinely dislike one another personally. It had nothing to do with the policy or nothing. I remember back in the day, my grandmother, her old PNM house. So when she see Pandey come on the TV, she said, get up and turn off the TV. First, they didn't want to hear Pandey. Remember them take a long time. And two of them, it seemed like if that's the way them feel about one another, I try and say, but this is modern times. And then on the opposition side, you're also hearing thing now coming out that the laundry thing was a race thing, because it's only Chinese and Syrian who own laundry, so he playing to the 1% and he had Chinese people. And I thinking, but I agree that the laundry thing don't make sense. I can't make sense of it. But why it had to come down? You're grabbing at straws. Using anything. So now you're trying to make it a race thing. So here, I want to understand what exactly they're trying to say. Or they're trying to say that he for Chinese and Indian, Syrian businesses, but he against Indian business and he against black business and things. Or is it he for big business alone and he only for for small people? And to me, it comes down to a set of race baiting and backing and forthing and all, you really don't like one another. And you know what's funny about it? I was talking last week about the optics of not taking a pay cut at all for the people who in the politics. The opposition seems to have no issue with the fact that the government didn't come and say at no point, listen, people can work this, that, we still have our work to do, but we're taking a 10% of our salary. Something. And I keep saying that if they take no salary, it's not going to make a huge, it's not like you could help a whole lot of people and pay them more money every month as a grant or anything. I want to keep this in context. If them fellas and them take their money for 3-4 months, you could do some hampers with that, but it's not a lot of money that you could say you could start a whole social program. But the point I'm making is the optics, the way the thing is look. It don't look right that you stand up there every week telling us, like talking down to us to wear a mask and wear a mask properly. And you never put on a mask in the press conference. And you tell me, yeah, your own mic. And well, I have my own mic too. You know what I'm saying? It don't look right. When only telling people that's a whole strain. You must put the lives first before livelihood. All these platitudes you come in and say every week. And at no point you're saying, well, here what? We are the top taking a little cut. And that is not a knock on rollers and the squad alone, you know. Because I want to pay attention to the fact that all the thing the opposition talking about, if it's Chinese business and serious, them not coming and saying nothing about no pay cut neither, because them ain't taking no pay cut. None of them willing to take a pay cut during these times, but they're willing to come at one another and say, well, you look how grubby and untidy you looking. And then the next one say, well, you want me to tell you what I had to tell you about you? While you're running a rum shop? Was that the parlor? All you're in charge of? So it's a sort of backing and forthing and race baiting. And I'm exhausted. But again, let me not stay on this too long because I tired now. I'm fed up, honestly. And I know everybody feeling the same based on the reaction on social media last week. And the main things people complaining about is outside of just work and your livelihood and them things. You can't take a little sweat. You can't exercise outside. You still have curfew. You have to be home by a certain time like a child. The beaches, the places where we get recreation and could ease a little stress. Them things close while we ain't making no money and thing. And then these two people, rather than try and sort out some of the issues, them want to back and forth. But if it's Chinese, and now a song to play for them. From one of the greats, right? The legend himself. Just a reminder to them. Yes? Sing for them.
Anytime you bounce up a racist,
yes,
and you hear them running them out, it have a whole set of people don't care what they talking about. A racist is someone living happy and all their family doing well. So race talk is really not for people
in the ghetto catching hell.
Now tell them racist sufferers don't care about color. Sufferers don't care about race. Sufferers don't care who migrate from where and who living in who place.
Sing for us.
Sufferers don't care who from country.
Yes.
Sufferers don't care who from town. Sufferers only want to hear where the next food coming from.
Too much lyrics, I can't stop it.
Get up early next morning. Go down in the 10 days yard. You see so much different type of people. Line up with the ID card. Or visit my village called Talparo, where they ain't get no water for years. People don't know the race. Yes, they don't know the color. With a bucket sit down shedding tears.
Sufferers don't care who from town.
Sufferers only want to hear.
Where the next food coming from? You know what I'm going to say, right? It's one of the greatest calypsos ever written. You must get one every week, man. Every week you will get a greatest calypso ever written. Anyway, I want to say a special salute to the people who working in the Queen's Park Savannah in the paddock. I hear it many, many times, but I experienced it for myself. We had the little blip and we give them some fire for when the FUBAR, the whole vaccine process. But very, very similar to what I see with my mother in Santa Cruz. And the paddock much bigger and plenty more people. The people had a real organized process. You can't complain about it at all. They make a full 180 and a comeback from what we see in the news the other day. Because there was no point. I was just waiting idle. We line up outside the Savannah, just outside the paddock. Before you go in, I was behind about 4 or 5 people. A guy came to me, he asked me like, who you come concerning you on a list? So I tell him, yeah, on a list. My boy Bert put me on a list and everything. When he said, all right, go to that gentleman there. I went to the fella. The fella find my name on the list. After that, I had to give my ID card and stuff. They just take some information and listen, there's a constant flow. Once you get that flow, you get a number. You're heading straight across to fill out a form. That form must take a couple. If I had to make a complaint, I would have said, listen, a lot of them things that we do, we just do that locally a lot, like fill out a lot of forms on paper. Really creates work. I wish more of that could have been online, but I mean, that's nitpicking, to be honest, because that form is just 2 little minutes of information there. And you're upstairs is job time, you know what I mean? They put you in a room, they explain that any questions you have about the vaccine, which hand you want to get in, your right hander, left hander. The people, sorry I never get their names, you know. But where I went in, if you know the grandstand in the Savannah, there are some little booths up at the top. It was in the booths there they were doing the vaccines, and I would say that they might have about 6 to 8 different vaccine stations up there. So when you go in there, you're sitting next to the person who administering yours. And they had such a pleasant vibe in that room. I had to salute them, you know what I mean? Everybody just cool and happy. You could see that they're taking a joy in what they're doing. And from what I understand, is all volunteers. And even from the girls who were downstairs ushering people around, them little youth men and them, they're having such a good time getting anything done. So, I mean, salute to them. It was really an easy process. The longest time I spent there for the day was the 15 minutes that I had to wait after you get the vaccine. And boy, to be honest with you, maybe I should have eaten before I take the vaccine. I really was hustling there and I ain't eat nothing. So I sit down in that 15-minute observation feeling like I want to pass out. And to be honest with you, I ain't sure if it's from the vaccine or from the fact that I eat nothing for the morning. But I survived the 15 minutes and that was it really. So I'm halfway there. I'm 50% vaccinated. I'm feeling good about it. All this talk about variants and hospital levels and things. I'm glad for any little protection I could get. Yes. What happened with the second jab? We go see about that when that time come. But at least me and my wife, we halfway secure. We halfway there. So salute to the people in the Savannah. Salute as well to Chef Khalid Mohammed. Great one. Legend in the culture. Legend with the culinary culture, you could call that. And sad news on his part, because I saw a release this week saying that show will no longer be operating. Show is a long-standing restaurant, and he was one of the first names I know as a popular, like internationally recognized chef. But I mean, he say he keeping Show Cafe. I think he have 2 other brands, Show Cafe and something on Cipriani Boulevard, if I'm not mistaken. So those 2 things will operate, but it's a sad day when Show closing down. And that's what I mean when I'm talking about, you know, the things we backing and forthing about, the people who in power backing and forthing about things, and a lot of businesses. I mean, he's established and have several brands, but think of all the restaurants that will be closing down that we will never see in the papers or any press release from or anything like that. It's a sad day, and the faster we open back up is the better the chance that people have. Health issues have to be taken care of and taken into consideration, of course, but it just goes to show you that nobody in escaping this. And in the midst of all this happening, we have Terence Dialsing, the Minister of Health, are putting him down as the hardest working man in the country now, outside of the people who are actually in the health sector, like nurses and doctors. Are putting him up there. But he has decided that this is the right time to call down a $700,000 vehicle 400,000 worth of tax saved, about 390 from HSM marketing. Brand new Prado. And the thing about it is this, right? It's the same thing I'm saying about the salaries and them not taking a pay cut. Opposition and government, all them in the same boat. The optics is what not right. You know what I mean? They're not going to save no money by saying they're going to take a salary cut and thing, but it will look better. It make people feel like if you're in it with them together. In the midst of what happening every day, where you making decisions about more lockdowns that are affecting every industry in this country and people's ability to make money and take care of their family, or to buy luxury items if they feel to buy luxury items. So I know against nobody. If you make any money, you should buy a vehicle for 10 million if you feel to buy a vehicle for 10 million. Is your money? Listen, capitalism. Do good, make your money, enjoy your life. That is your prerogative. But why I'm saying, and I'm also saying that, you see, the tax exempt government ministers work very hard and they're not compensated properly for the work they do. I want to put that out there one time too. It might seem like they're making a lot of money to the average person, but they can't be compensated for the amount of work that they do wrong the clock and any issue and the amount of pressure they're under as well. So I have no issue with the tax exemption. Like, people like to make a big issue that, again, VAT and duties and all those things off. I don't have an issue with that. I think the more they're entitled to, the better, if you ask me. We need to get to the point where they paid so well that people not interested in the public purse when they get into power. They're just happy with the money that they're making there, you know? But I wonder how they're feeling. Like when is this the right time to make a decision to buy a vehicle like that? So let me use myself as an example, right? In our company, we facing the same thing everybody else facing. So it's cutbacks, is all those issues. I can't see myself asking staff to take pay cut, having to retrench staff, having to put people, furlough people and all these kind of things that businesses had to do during these times while they're completely closed down or operating at a lower capacity because people home and nobody can come out. I can't see myself while I'm asking staff to do that, even if I have the money in the bank, going out there and buying a brand new $700,000 vehicle at that point in time. I just would not do it. That's just me personally. I'm not doing it because it don't look right. It don't pass the smell. How it gonna look? It will be on my mind so much. Like, why you going to show up to work with this thing, man? A man's salary reduced. How we go watch me? How we go continue to work together? And I know he on my side, and we working towards goals. And what I could tell him in a meeting to keep him motivated and thing. I wouldn't do it. So I was surprised that of all people, the health minister, who in the midst of this battle, who talking there every day about restrictions and things, that who could do this and who could make money and who can't make money, essentially, will find that this is a good time. But it goes back to the same thing I've always been saying. You see, politicians, boy, you have to be careful of politicians. Any help, I feel like any help we get from politicians or anything that they do for the population is incidental to the things that they do for themselves. And this is one of them cases, like, you just, like, why would you do that now? And then not even a week or two after, we hear that news and we see that thing about Terrence Dale saying, I think circulating like now, real time, about Stuart Young also pulling down a brand new Benz. Sticker price on the Benz, $1 million. You get exemptions and thing after that, right? So from Sterling Auto. So it's like, all they want to come out like if all you have everybody best interests at heart and you're doing what's the best for the people and life over livelihood and all that. We get all that. How all you could find that this is the best time to make those decisions to buy them vehicles? Yes, you're tax exempt. And I put in a theory, right? I have a theory. The thing about it is the attitude when they get in power is to get as much as you could get before the time of power leave. So if it's 5 years you're there for, and as a minister, you ain't sure to be there for 5 years. I keep that in mind. So it's not like if I could wait out COVID and next year when everybody back working, I could do it, so it ain't gonna be too big a story. These men know they get reshuffled, they get fired. Little things just happen, and next thing you know, them guy, you end up using Marlene McDonald now. You have nothing. You have to go and buy a Tito. So them men making sure they see about themselves. All the exemptions that they have, they're taking the million. I'm not saying not more how they get the money to buy their car. How they get the money to buy their car is their business. But the optics behind it don't look right. But they can't help themselves. them men making sure let me sort out myself now because I don't want next year bring and if Rolly go reshuffle, next thing you know, Fitzgerald Hines take over my ministry and I can't get nothing. So let me sort out myself now. So between two ministers, $1.7 million for two vehicles at a time like this where everybody else in the country, not just seeing hard times, but seeing hard times and waiting every week for you to show up and tell us if you go give you a chance to come and make some money this week. You know what I mean? You go open up and let me get something. We could work. We could open more business. We could rehire our employees. What we could do, please, sir, let us. You know what I mean? Let me go. As Brigo say, we want to go. And Saturday we had to wait for 2:30. Well, 3 o'clock really. If you say it's starting 2:30, we had to wait for that to find out if you do it for it. But again, all right, all the fellas buy nice vehicle and things. Salute to them. I'm glad for anybody who doing good and only buy a nice vehicle. Can't wait to see them on the road and things. Especially in light of an article that came out this week where the police service come up with a proposal for cars. Now I don't have the figures in front of me, but when I did the maths for the cars and the amount that they wanted, the cars was coming up to $275,000 for the police cars. Right now, again, no comparison, right? Because I'd assume this is Stuart Young $1 million and this is the Elsing $700,000. That is not the public funds, right? And the police cars will be bought with the public funds. But when I look at it at 275, you think at 275, if I get 275 now, I'm glad with the car I could get for that. But I just want you to keep in mind that 275 could barely get you a brand new RAV4 or a brand new CRV. You know what I mean? But the police who gonna put this vehicle under, that vehicle gonna be working 24 hours under enormous pressure, shootout, fast driving, escape, and all them kind of things. And your boy Rollers tell them, man, go back, find something cheaper. That was the response they had in the media, right? He say, find something cheaper. So I don't know if the plan is to let the police and them drive Wingle. You know Wingle? Or you remember when they used to bring in ladder? Or a Great Wall? I wonder if they will get a Great Wall to drive because getting too much cheaper. And I thought the SUVs the man was going for, it wasn't cars. So it's not to say like they could get a car for one something at 200. What's the cheapest SUV you have right now? Well, we gotta get him in a little Toyota Rush. Let them sit down close to one another. The police sit down close, they're tight. I don't know what's the plan there. Or if you can't get it for cheaper. Because I would think with the crime situation, you would want to make sure that police get vehicles that fully equipped. I see your boy Philip Alexander showing thing now with RFID license plate and what do you call the code on it again? QR code on your license plate, which we should move towards. But if we move in towards those things, then the police vehicles have to be equipped. You know, in the States, they pull up behind you, they run your tags, the computer, everything is the vehicle fully equipped. But I don't know if you'll get some fully equipped Wingle. What's the plan there? But again, them two things unrelated. The police cars is taxpayers' money. The Elsing car is not. But what I'm talking about is the optics. It don't look right. We're in the same 7-day period. Two ministers buying vehicles at that level. And the prime minister telling the police, hey, what, 275? Come back again. See where you could get Roro. It's not Roro. I wonder if police could get Roro. You know what I mean? They could go right on my HSM and get a roll off car. So again, so got happy for Stuart Young and I'm happy for the Elsing. I hope all are happy too. And I hope while all are backing and forthing, all you don't act like all you're surprised over the backlash that this going and cause. And I hope all you don't come and say anybody who talk against it, you know what they like to talk, anybody who say anything against it is automatically a UNC. That is the MO for the government these days. Now, before I jump into the foreign things, right? Plenty happen in foreign and things. Yes, about Bill Cosby and these fellas and them. But before I get into that random thing that came up this week, right? I just want to talk about real quick. In the light of everything we say here about business and jobs and how hard it is, like the job market is one of the hardest things that I have right now. This is not the time to lose your job or walk off your job or anything like that. Because of course, with so much businesses closed, it's not like a ton of people hiring right now. And I remember when I was now getting into the job market, I remember having to sit down with my mother and hear a long lecture that I didn't want to hear about how to conduct myself on the job and don't embarrass her. And I carried her name in the company. Them days is Telephone Workers Credit Union and thing. I was working a little 2 weeks, In the 2 weeks, they paid me $200 a week. I'm so glad to get the 200. They paid me petty cash in my hand on a Friday, right, to tell you how much money I'm making. And I'm glad for the little work. But I remember saying down with her about how to conduct myself, what to wear. Don't go out there and play the fool and be reaching late. You know you want. I had to go through the whole speech. And when I done with that, my father had to sit down now and tell me about TV. My grandfather was working in the credit, nepotism like hell. No? My grandfather was working in the credit union too, so he had to tell me about my conduct, and I'm a representative of my grandfather. One long talk I had to go through with both of them before I could study work by sour. And I was lucky, again, nepotism, them pull me in. I didn't have to go through the process of applying and running down and trying to look for a job and all that kind of thing, right? And the reason I flash back to that is because of late I've been getting I've seen some messages coming my way right now, because from a business standpoint, I understand that people always looking for jobs, and not everybody would have the mother I had and the father I had to put me through that speech, that long boring speech, before I go and get a job, right? So that's why I decided to talk about it real quick. It's on my mind for a few weeks now, but like it getting worse, boy. A lot of people looking for jobs. And I am pretty open. I'm an easy guy to find. My phone number out there, my email out there, we have websites and things. So if you're looking for a job, we have an employment agency. So I would add you to the database, tell you what to do to thing. You know what I mean? What kind of job you're looking for, we add you. But again, now is not a great time to be looking for a job, unfortunately. But people need work. But what I'm bringing up really is that we had to have some conversations with our children and anybody who you could talk to help them. And the reason I'm saying that is because if I read for you some of the messages I get from people asking about employment, you will feel shame. You go close your eye, you will tell me a lie. I ain't reading none, no, because I don't want to put nobody on blast or anything like that. The point I'm trying to make is, don't forget to have that long, boring conversation with your children when they're going to look for the job market, or when they're starting to look for jobs. Unfortunately, you know, the listeners to this podcast, again, is people who in business have good positions in companies and so on. So you all might take it for granted sometimes. And your children especially might take it for granted that, listen, you know somebody and you're getting in a job and that kind of thing. But boy, don't forget to have that conversation, boy, because like WhatsApp and all these, we didn't have that long time. We had to send when I first started looking for jobs, you had to send in a letter, like a physical thing you sign to drop in HR and them kind of things. And then later on, it started to become email and you send somebody an email. But keep in mind that we used to go through how to do a resume, how to send out an email, how to do a cover letter. You know, we used to do a little course in that, or somebody teach you or show you or help you with it. And let me tell you something. You see, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and them types of things is all hell break loose in terms of the way people is messaging. People forgetting that everything is part of the job interview. You know? The way you speak to somebody. And when you message in a company Facebook page or a company Instagram, do not assume you're talking to no social media manager. And even if that is the case, you're talking to somebody who managing social media, approach them professionally. This is the first impression you're making when you're talking to the company. So a lot of people mightn't realize that when they message the Facebook page for our company, I respond to that myself. They might have my number but not know what's my position in the company, and they WhatsApp me. And listen, the way people send these messages, I'm thinking, but this is the first impression you created. Number one. So I remember talking about this in classes back in the day. I don't want to turn into a lecture, but I always used to tell students, especially at bachelor's level, do not email no resume with sexyredsdumpling@hotmail.com or hotboy Jesse, you know what I mean? Or gunman Troy. Don't do that. I remember saying that in front of class, and a girl was real upset with me, and I saying, listen, Sexy Reds, you could put your email as Sexy Reds if you wanted to. I'm not telling you don't put your email as Sexy Reds. But make a little email saying janet.jackson@hotmail. So you could use that now for your resume and your professional thing. Don't send no 69 wet boss WAP. Don't do that. Why we doing this? Why we hadn't been talking about this in 2021? I don't know. But we used to go through that back in the day. I'm talking about 10 years ago, 15 years ago. It was a big thing because I'm not saying if you send a sexy reds, you mightn't get a job, but I think you would putting yourself at a disadvantage when people open. It just shows that you didn't take the time to check that. And they used to go through with us a whole thing about spelling errors and grammatical errors and thing on your resume. So we went through that era. But what I see now is a bunch of youths who never went through that era, and everything for them is so casual. So people casually messaging me, hey, just checking to see if you all have any. Who is hey? I am not no hey. And then when your name on Instagram and all those things speak, all that is part of the interview process. So like one particular person, of course, I don't have this lady number saved in my phone or anything. I don't know her and she don't know me. She just get my number from somewhere and message. But when she messaged me about work, her name don't come up. What's come up is the emoji with the two love eyes. So every time I think now I see two love eyes with message and I say, well, all right, boy, any gas. And then it's, hey, how you no, hey. I know it's a random story, but just saying for anybody who listening, if you are young children, because they might be going about this, they might be doing the formal thing that you expect in terms of the email and the resume and the this and the that and all that. They might be just messaging people, DM on Instagram and this. We had to get back to the point where we still doing those things, at least a little bit professionally. So that you know, in case you're talking to the person who is the decision maker, that you're making the right impression up front. Or somebody who could say no to your resume. They might pass it up to somebody to approve who coming on. But they could definitely decide that yours not going up. Let's just be mindful of that now. And also, I mean, just another random thing that like a lot of companies do it where when we making decisions about who to hire, your social media is fair game. Anything I could learn about you, I will learn it. You just have to keep those things in mind. So when you're messaging me from an Instagram page to our company page to say you're looking for thing and you know what I mean, and I see your Instagram page and you're out and bad, your chains and them heavy, your rings and them heavy, you're smoking heavy, you know what I mean, you're cutting up heavy. Just understand, I don't want to discriminate against nobody, but just understand that speaks, it says something about you. Your whole page is a ganja page where you messaging me to tell me, how I got to deal with that. I just find out there. So talk to people, right? And as we on the topic of ganja, let me talk about Sha'Carri Richardson one time, right? Salute to Sha'Carri Richardson. Because she was the biggest athlete pre-Olympics. Let me put it like that. When we were looking at what the Tokyo Olympics in 2021 will bring, her name stood out early. Because she was not just running and winning, but if you from our era, y'all remember like Flojo? She gave that kind of vibes where it's the hair and the body on point and the long nails, and there was somebody else with Flojo too, you know, boy. There was another woman who was, I can't remember the name, boy. For some strange reason, I'm only thinking Diana Ross, but there was another female runner from the States with Flojo, who used to be a little flamboyant and the nails and Shelly and Fraser Price had give you a little high color and thing, but nobody can do it like Flojo and them back in days. Flojo nails was ridiculous. Like when she make the fist to run, the nails was all the way up to her elbow. You remember that? And I find this girl gave that kind of vibe, and I ain't taking nothing away. I still back in Michelle Liai, you know what I mean? I see she win a little race the other day, so we coming in, so we have something in the Olympics, you know what I mean? And again, Shelly and Fraser Price and Elaine Thompson are back in Jamaica all the way. After Liai are back in Jamaica all the way. But my eye was done on Sha'Carri Richardson already because she gonna bring our whole vibes to this Olympics. You know, just take a couple athletes like Bolt lift up that whole Beijing Olympics when he had the Bolt Lightning thing and he break records and all them things. Mo Farah used to do the little love sign. As I say, Flojo. Jackie Joyner Kersey. That's the woman name? I think so. But you know, those athletes, Carl Lewis, they bring something to the Olympics that lift the whole spirit of the games that you want to follow. And salute to Keshawn Walcott, of course, who looking like he coming in some form. He looking like we are thing. But I was looking forward to Sha'Carri. Only to tell you the next thing you know, they said the girl smoke a little weed. And I like her disposition, to be honest with you, because if I was her, I was going on Black Lives Matter, this whole thing, and guilt trip people into let me in the Olympics. I was going on George Floyd it out. I being honest. If I train for Olympics up to that point and then find weed in my system, I play in the race card. Stalin says sufferers don't get. I was one of them racist Stalin talking about, because I was going to race immediately and saying it's because I'm black that they didn't want. And I was going to say Michael Phelps is a weed head and they never test you for weed. I was going all the way. But she do the very, very mature thing and come out and say, listen, she knew the rules. She was wrong. Her mother died. There was unfortunate circumstances. And, she needed something to mellow her out. But she didn't ask for no favors. She take full responsibility for it. She accept her 30-day ban. I see people saying too, it's performance enhancing drugs and they're using the weed to mask that. I know that song just like the vaccine arguments and them. That song like non-experts arguing thing they know. But she was so mature and come out and say, listen, sorry about that. I'm sorry I let down my fans and my country and all that. And you had to give her respect for coming out and do that. I wasn't doing that, I'm being honest. I wasn't doing that. But she will be there for the 4x100 Olympics. And every athlete who miss out. I wonder if Shelly and Price and Elaine and them have a little weed they want to smoke or nothing. You know what I mean? The more people who drop out, the better we chances is for Leah, But Sha'Carri will be there for the 4x100, so she have a chance to partake in the Olympics because apparently her 30-day ban will finish before that race. And she'll be in it, so we'll get to see her performance. And I'm looking forward to seeing the best of the best. The sprinting is always a main attraction for any Olympics, so that's good. And I wanna salute to Nike too. You know what I mean? I find Nike is do this, and Nike are a little different to most of the companies out there, because I think I was talking about that a few episodes ago with them still standing by Tiger Woods through all the issues that he had. And they basically came out and said, listen, all of us make mistakes, people make mistakes and everything, we stand in with her. It's so easy for a company now to come back and say, well, you missing the main event in the Olympics, you're carrying our name through the mud, we don't want to be associated with this, we don't want to be associated with you, we're pulling out our sponsorship. And I'm sure they have clauses in the contract that will allow them to do that now. But they stand up with her, and that's a nice thing to see, you know what I mean? So looking forward to seeing her in the Olympics. And I'm talking about standing up with people. Your boy Bill Cosby is free. Your boy Bill Cosby is free in these streets. That come out of nowhere. I don't know if people were following that story and they knew what was happening with it. I thought he gone for good, because you wasn't really hearing it. The only thing you were hearing about him was initially when he was locked up. You start hearing these stories about he going blind and he get old fast and then. And I remember hearing a story saying that he not taking no plea or nothing like that. He was going all the way through court. But apparently, people saying it's a technicality, right? But apparently, for the things that he would have gone to court for earlier in life and already take his plea and settle and make deals, apparently he should have never been tried again, much less to be in jail again. And the reality is this, right? The law is the law. And if a man not supposed to be tried and you try him, you have a problem. And worse yet, if you jail him, because I guarantee you, he is going to sue the state or whoever he has to sue, and they will have to pay him, because basically the man get locked up for how much years? It's 2-3 years he was inside there or whatever it was. You lock up an old man like that at the end, you know what I mean? In the last stages of his life, man gone blind and all kind of, that not gonna be light, especially, and he have the pockets to do it because he was clearly there to fight it. So, I feel for the woman who made the accusations against him. I saw one interview this week with Judge Joe Brown. I don't know if y'all like, if you remember him from like TV. He was a TV judge, right? I don't want to compare him to Judge Judy necessarily, but it's the same type of show. But the thing about him was that he was he was a very, very firm judge and a serious fella. And when he used to really cast down judgments on people. He was entertaining to watch on TV too, but I remember him for his firmness and the way he used to talk about people, kind of no nonsense. Especially when he had young black people in front of him who he see as playing the fool. He used to come down on them. And I saw an interview between him and a guy called Mark Lamont Hill. I don't know what Lamont Hill expected to get from Judge Joe Brown. But if you following Judge Joe Brown, you know he's a man straightforward. Like, all he ain't get to say on TV over the years, like he's just said on YouTube, is all hell break loose with any topic he talking about. Because he was on the thing with Kwame Brown the other day when Kwame Brown was going on his rants against everybody. And he basically, the whole Breakfast Club, he says Charlemagne, he don't like gay people and them kind of thing at all. So you always talk about man who playing woman and listen, and transgender. Judge Joe Brown is who he is. He done all already. He ain't care what he say. He off TV and thing like he do business. So they were asking him about his thoughts on freeing Bill Cosby, and that man was basically like, boy, all the bimbos went and take drugs by the man, and all you say all they get raped, all they keep going back. It was a little brutal, eh? But one thing that he kept saying in that is that, I mean, keep in mind that the man was a sitting judge for a long time. So he was going to the law and he was trying to tell the interviewer, listen, in some states, if you willingly take drugs somewhere and you pass out and you have sex, you're not going to be able to prove that the person take advantage of you because you willingly take the drugs. And I mean, whatever your opinion might be, he was just stating that is the law in some states. And there's one thing that I keep coming back to when I'm going over this story. The law is the law. You can't try the man. I think Judge Joe Brown was saying it equates to double jeopardy, trying somebody twice for the same thing. And I don't know what's your opinion about Bill Cosby, but I always could be the worst man to be a judge, because if you have enough accusations against you, I have serious doubts against you too. So maybe they shouldn't put me on no seat with no judge, because if enough people come forward, I go and prosecute, or I don't know if the judges prosecute, but you go and get locked up. If too much people come, what would they used to say, how much million Frenchmen can be wrong? That would be my attitude towards it. But I have a couple of things that I had to say that I didn't like about it at all, in terms of the way it treated. So let me assume he guilty. This whole cancel culture idea of making sure that Bill Cosby show never show on TV, somebody who was responsible for that show, basically going out of his way to make sure that black positivity in blackness is seen on TV to everybody once a week at least at first. Moving on to seeing young children going to school, going to college, choosing their life in different strokes. And keep in mind what the general idea or the general message behind black movies would have been back then. Movies and TV shows in the black life outside of Jeffersons and them kind of thing was either you a white man adopt you, or drugs and them kind of thing, and you come up, or you're poor and living in a dump, or it's a slavery related thing where it's still subservience and that kind of thing. And he makes sure that the black man and woman was seen in a different light, and the black child, black family as a whole, So is it that good work that you do erased by the bad things? And seemed to be that seemed to be the case, because they basically came out and cancel culture again, especially cancel culture have a tendency to work against black and brown people more so than they go cancel white people. But they take off the show, it's not shown on any network and them kind of things. We don't own our own networks, but they're not shown on the network, and that's the end of the Cosby show. And the people who behind this and saying that, hey, this revisionist history thing is the same people who's be upset when you're telling them take down all them set of statue of Columbus from all over the place. Columbus have no right having no statue in this country. And these streets in Trinidad, we should name all of them. And like I say, Prince Street should be. It's only one prince here is Lara. So there seems to be a duality in the way we look at these things, because it's okay to stop Bill Cosby from being in TV, which is right from this era. But things that way in the past are not contributing or helping us in any way as a people. Talking in Trinidad locally here, them things still glorified and on our street names, the biggest streets and highways in the country named after, you know what I mean? You could see it in our society, but I don't like the idea that none of his shows are shown on TV anymore, so he just banished from society as a whole. And somebody who would have benefit from that or suffer from all the shows being removed, Phylicia Rashard, came out and say, and her statement wasn't the best choice of words, it wasn't the best choice of forum, because maybe, like I was saying, Rolly could come on Twitter and say everything he said last week Saturday. Now, maybe she should not have chosen Twitter as her avenue for coming out and say what she said. She basically saying, well, a wrong for 3 years has been overturned and that kind of thing. And, if that's the way you feel, that's the way you feel. But maybe you should have say that in person or somewhere where you could explain yourself exactly what you mean. Because she started to take some heat now and on the verge of being cancelled too, because people were putting pressure on Howard University to remove her as a dean. I don't find they should remove her. I don't like the idea. I mean, she come out and apologize for it to me. Sometimes that and always be too much, but that's enough. It's like you come out and you say, all right, I make a poor statement. That was poor judgment. I shouldn't have said that. And you have to keep in mind that while you might be supporting what Bill Cosby stood for and so on. You still have to remember that the man got genuine victims out there. Too much of people come forward and say what he used to do, and he himself, and maybe that's how he get off in the end, because they're saying he himself came out and say, I can't remember if he came out and say like he raped somebody or he drugged somebody and had sex with them or something to that effect. And it amounted to the prosecutor causing him to incriminate himself, which they should have never done in the first place and couldn't act on anyway. So, I mean, Bill is back free. Be interesting to see what his attitude before, because you might remember Bill Cosby from, of course, the Cosby days and coming up through the show and all that, but little by little, you started hearing from the black community, particularly actors and other comedians, that he wasn't the easiest person to deal with. And when he still used to make public statements, that might have been 10 years ago, 15 years ago, he really used to talk down on people about wearing their pants too low and this hip-hop culture, and he was so against that, and any chance he gets, it seemed like he was talking down on that. And maybe that's coming from his stance and trying to, if you work so hard to put black people in a positive light, and then black people themselves trying to put themselves in a negative light, like deliberately, and in the name of fashion and style, you might have an issue with it. But then little by little, you started hearing more stories. I remember D.L. Hughley telling a story. He in particular was talking about how Bill Cosby came at him about how much obscene language he's used. Hughley is another one like Judge Joe Brown too, where he ain't mincing words and trying to make nobody feel good, but he's saying what he had to say. And he was coming out and saying, he don't like Bill Cosby. Like Bill Cosby talked down on me, he tried to shut me down and close off opportunities for me and that kind of thing. So I'm eager to hear, and I think they said he did one interview. I didn't get to hear the interview. But he may make more and more public appearances, and who knows if he'll go on the Breakfast Club or one of these platforms or sit down and talk to Oprah. I think Oprah will talk to him. Maybe he would do one of them expose kind of things, and I would love to hear his side of the story. And he clearly feels vindicated because he and all come out in defense of Phylicia Rashard. I was like, buddy, maybe you shouldn't say much. You should have called him and said, Bill, don't defend me. Let me get out to this one on my own. But I'm eager to hear what he has to say about it. But I also real interested in seeing what becomes of the Cosby Show now and all the things he was involved in now that he's free again. And I had to say, with all the energy that we had for Bill Cosby be transferred to people like Harvey Weinstein, who are responsible for some of our favorite movies, and seems to be, I think he had got arrested at one point in time. I don't know if he's in jail or he's free or what is going on, but there seems to be such a focus on people like Bill Cosby and so little focus on a man like Harvey Weinstein. I don't know why. Who knows? I know why, but again, there's another one that we will continue to watch. I hope he do something public so we could hear from him and see where his headspace is at now. Before we wrap up the foreign stories, I just want to put it on public. I don't like Jada Pinkett Smith no more. We make joke and think about the entanglement thing, but I find she taking this thing a little far. Last week, or week before, I think come out saying she come on Tupac birthday, death day, whatever anniversary, to say it's about some poem. Tupac. I don't like this at all. Because if it was me, who come with an ex? Imagine I come on this podcast and I say my ex write me a poem. So let me tell all of the poem. Just close your eye and think of my ex saying this. And see what Stacey will be saying while I reading this here. For me to be in problems. You are the omega of my heart. What is Una or omega? Handwriting was looking like one of these messages I get for job. Let me get it thing right. You are the omega of my heart. The foundation for my conception of love. When I think of what a black woman should be, it's you that I first think of. You will never fully understand how deeply my heart feels for you. I worry that we will grow apart and I'll end up losing you. This not sounding like a poem. It's written like a poem, right? You just had to trust me. It stands as like a poem, right? But I know you're rhyming thing. Tupac supposed to be able to rhyme. You bring me to climax without sex. No, wait, it's I who reading it. Let me start over. No, it's ain't rhyming at all. You bring me to climax without sex. And you do it all with regal grace. You are my heart in human form, a friend I could never replace. I think it rhymes, yes? Whatever. But I find you disrespectful. The man, listen. God bless Tupac and everything, right? Rest in peace and all these nice things, right? But you can't be every time your man, ex-man, death anniversary or he birth anniversary, wherever it is, come up, you bringing up some kind of thing. Then in the next week now, some next rapper come in saying, he hear Jada telling Tupac don't beat up Will. Listen, Will Smith, you've been through enough, yes? I don't know, but usually, if this was the reverse, and it was a man who have a woman, so these things would be big stories all the time. So I just want to put it out there that I don't like Jada Pinkett Smith no more. And so what she's do? We cancel culture. Well, we canceling what the movie name again? Set It Off. I ain't watching that Set It Off thing no more. Jesus Christ, 3D man good no man. Alright, I'm running through these quick. I ain't staying here for 2 hours again and all. It's back to back 2 hours. We shortening up this thing, right? Gary Griffith, I guess, salute to Gary Griffith, I guess. Gary Griffith has announced that he will be back in rerunning for the commissioner after his 3-year period has ended. I haven't heard since anybody else who's running against him. I don't know how this is work, if this is an ex-PNM UNC kind of situation. He did go out by challenging the people who was saying all kind of thing about him, who was armchair commissioner, who know better than him and who know everything. He makes sure to let it be known that this is only an opportunity to run against him. I don't know how that is work. You have to be a police to be police commissioner. Or you could just, you could be a journalist. Because he makes sure and shout out Denise Wren and everybody. The man went on a whole long speech about he haters. I don't know why Gary Griffith is a special kind of guy. Some men are lovers of themselves. Gary Griffith is one, you know what I mean? So he had a long thing about how his haters has fight him down and he do so much for the force. But the most odd thing about our whole thing, and I only had to go and find this back in. Find where Gary Griffith make the announcement that he running for commissioner again. And at the end of it, when he finished his speech, a man who I'd assume is a police too, stop him from leaving, which he did not seem surprised about at all. You know when you're leaving a job, right? And somebody come to give you some things, you kind of expect that they go get you a little fruit basket, they will get you a little parting gift. Somebody will come and say some nice words to you. It seemed like one of them things because Gary seemed very pre-orchestrated is what I'm trying to say. So he said, well, Commissioner, don't go yet. We understand that this is your last press conference in your term. And we know it might also be your last as commissioner. And that man apparently the man who's saying this is the audio-visual man who's organized the press conferences on behalf of the police force. So for Gary Griffith when they're doing this, however often they do it. And this man went on to show a video montage of all the great things. I've never seen anything like this in my life. Stephen Williams must be, oh, they didn't like you at all, boy, Stephen, boy. I never remember nothing like this for Stephen. Them men show, and it was so weird. Everybody on the live was saying, but like, all you showing the wrong video. Because the beginning of the video was about 5 minutes from the movie Creed, coincidentally starring Michael B. Jordan, who was just in that Juve thing. And I trying to figure out about, like, Gary, I was bad talking promoters for having a little sweet deal with Michael B. Jordan, but like Gary get any deal too? Like, why? It's so odd that after that week or two of controversy where that is concerned, that is the video the AV man chose to show, like, listen, about 5 minutes out of the Creed movie, to the point where everybody in the comments saying, I think the AV man playing the wrong video. I think the audiovisual man make a mistake. Not knowing that is exactly what he trying to show, because apparently it was about the fighting spirit of the commissioner. And the commissioner, boy, listen, it's as weird as it gets. The guy said he had 80% supporters, but 20% of the people who were against him, and the 20% who was against him is mostly because them is criminal. It's like, what is going on? But it's clear to me that Gary Griffith is going to be right back there. We're not going to have any other commissioner. So congrats and salute to Gary Griffith in advance. While this is going on, and he is basically praising himself, because I feel Gary vet that video before the audiovisual man gets a show. That's just my opinion. But while that going on, a story going on about him and a company called Bad Wolf. So it's between Gary, Bad Wolf, TTFA, and a school or institution in Ireland. The man in Ireland vexed like hell because he don't want his name calling up in this. He said they have an institution that designed to help people and uplift people and all that. And now he embroiled in some kind of issue down here. But the coming from a 2-part article that Denise Wren would have done, it's pretty clear to see that some favors pass, and the favors all circulating around, well, between Gary and Terry Fenwick. So the football factory collecting money. Well, let me not say football factory. Football factory is what Terry Fenwick running, right? But Terry Fenwick was also hired to be the administrator, what you want to call it, the man who running the Commissioner's Cup football competition, which run once, and they're looking for sponsorship all over the place. They're looking for a loud set of money from NLCB. And to make a long story short, the police force borrow some money from the police sports club. Boy, listen, it's about weird. And they take that money, and Terry Fenwick send the men a loud bill to run a 1 month football competition because he's the man who running it on behalf. Because of course, the police using football and things to handle crime and reduce exposure to crime and expose youths to more positive things, of course, but they can't do it themselves. So they had to hire a football expert. And who better as an expert on crime, on committing crime than on football than Terry Fenwick, you know? And common assault, who seemed to be a guy who liked common assault a lot, headbutting and clotheslining people and so on. So he knows crime and he knows football. So it's a great combination of a person to get at. But I just want to tell you that for a 1 month competition, check this in the papers yourself, right? Terry Fenwick charged the police force. So when they break down what he was paid for, 190,000 was paid for administrative staff. Now I want you to go back. I was talking about job seeking and things just now. What's the average salary for administrative person for a month? An admin person. You work it out because your company might be different to mine in terms of what the pay scale is and them kind of thing. And when you work out that, I want you to take 190,000 and divide it by that figure you just come up with it. And tell me how much administrators you needed to run a football tournament for 1 month. And you see, this be my difficulty with all this sort of public sector thing, you know. So when a man arguing with me last week, a man say, people protest for Michael B. Jordan and this and that, and why they don't think the port, now the port private, we're going to protest for that too. And my statement is, let them privatize the port. The government had no right running no business. Because no private person who running a business is paying $190,000 a month to administer a football competition with all the games playing on one listen. Anyway, Gary Griffith, salute to you. You're back inside. You're going to be the new commissioner again. So all the cockroaches, you remember the roaches? Roaches are to run back and hide and them kind of things. And as we're on this topic, I just want to say salute. I'm wrapping up here, you know, but I cannot leave without saying salute to my guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Salute to my guys.
And we're gathered here for the game of your life. Lovely, lovely, lovely. I want to see you put your flags up in the air right now. Sing.
All right, that's all they could get. A little whoa, whoa. I don't want to go too far. Salute to them, but I don't want to get them. They can't get the soca warrior, or they could get whoa, 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 right? Because it is Montserrat. It is Montserrat. And we beat them 6-1. But the thing about it is this. You know how long we beat aside so? Since Heart. I can't go first. I can't remember. Since Heart. I mean, even under Heart, we beat any side like that. We definitely didn't beat nobody like that with Dennis Lawrence. I ain't saying we win no games, no, but we wasn't beating people by that margin of goals. And it's a man named St. Fleet who come in here and we drawing with us at a small side. I think, was St. Fleet the coach when we lost to Shabazz in Guyana too, boy? I probably have that wrong, you know, but somebody, imagine Guyana knock we out the World Cup, them men carry over the Jamal Shabazz was Guyana coach, and them men carry over there and we lost to Guyana in an early qualifying round in the World Cup. Aside like we supposed to be dominating this region. We supposed to be with the Mexicos and the Costa Ricas and the USA and Jamaica. But we finding ourselves now where we have a coach who, but I guess 190,000 worth of administration and then you're going to get small money as the coach. I mean, you ain't going to put your best foot forward. But you going in a competition and drawing with Bahamas and Bermuda, you know what I mean? You can't beat Puerto Rico you're drawing with and things like who don't even play football. So I'm glad to see, even though it was Montserrat, I glad to see 6-1 where we dominate and we play against a team and we actually beat somebody. It is such a good feeling. It looked like we'd never get back to that point. And I would say of the match, right, that I don't find we look the best in terms of, if you're just looking at how we play, forget the goals and the outcome and thing. We looking like we ain't fully gel as a team yet, you know what I mean? The touches a little off the court, you know what I mean? We looking like we have a unit. So they ain't gel fully, but they're looking like they're playing to a plan. And I was saying this last week, you know, Angus Eve is an attacking kind of player. So he looked like an attacking coach too, because we was looking hungry to get forward and looking for goals. We actually absorb a lot of pressure. I don't want to call it pressure necessarily, but Montserrat looked like they was coming to play and we was absorbing all that. But when we do get the ball, we was looking to get forward and looking to be dangerous like how we usually play. So I was glad to see that, and salute to Angus Eve for getting a big win on your first match, you know what I mean? That's it don't matter who they put in front of you, because these days we could have drawn with anybody. It looked like anybody. We's whipping boys. We now get knocked out the World Cup. So to come off of that, where we can't get a win against Bahamas, to beating up Montserrat, which that's where we need to be. Salute to Kevin Molino. He come back in, he look good, he make a difference on the team. You know something that's strange too? As a non-footballer and layman, Highlanders look different than Molino there. I like Highland a lot as a player. Highland is boss the team. But when Molino there, he's a different kind of player, because I don't know if it's a strange thing for me to see a footballer who he's not on scoring in a kind of way, you know what I mean? Highland's first instinct is not to score a whole bunch of goals. But when he has scorers around him, he's a dangerous man, and he's getting a full 90 minutes. So salute to him. Salute to Aubrey David, who take out, I mean, I see the pictures of Aubrey David. During the game, it looked bad when he get kicked. And I was trying to figure out, but what kind of bandage they put the man. They make the man look like Bubba from Forrest Gump, the shrimp man, with this big bandage upon the man chin and everything. But it was a serious gash. That man gets a bunch of stitches like inside and out the lip, a serious gash. But Molino put away the penalty. Such a big difference from the last penalty Joven Jones kicked to that one. Molino looked like he had purpose. I'm glad to see him back on the team. So I don't know how come he make it, because all the reports going in was saying that he was injured or something like that. But then he make himself available. Eve pick him up, he starts, and he make a huge difference. They make a change to Telford too. Telford was playing up front first. He played like on the wing. Apparently, that's where he most comfortable, and he looked better out there. So keep in mind too that we missed I think they say Sheldon Bato wasn't available for the game. Levi Garcia couldn't play. Joven Jones wasn't on that team either. So we have strengthening up to do. So I expect that by the time you're listening to this podcast, well, we were supposed to meet the winner of Cuba versus French Guyana. But Cuba apparently had a bunch of issues with, I think, well, some reports saying it's COVID-related issues. Some saying it's visa. It's probably a combination of the two. But they withdraw, so French Guyana gone through. But Lord, please don't let Trinidad Soca Warriors, West Indies, these things, because we have to win this game to be able to get into the Gold Cup. But the point I'm making is, when you have such strong players coming back into the team, assuming that you beat French Guyana and anything, you could see where we could compete now, because you have a solid team. So hopefully, I'm not sure if the availability of players who are called their battle and them was due to injury or just they was unavailable at the time. But hopefully, whatever it is sorted out before we get into the Gold Cup. But I'm a little nervous about saying this, because I see West Indies dominate a team. The team looked like a joke in the first 2020 of 5. And then they play the fool for the rest of the 4 and lost a series. The combined age of that West Indies teams who went there, the combined age and experience is at least 2,000 years old. Fidel Edwards, Chris Gale, Bravo, Pollard. Who again? Who's the other old man on his side? Who they had there? They had Haynes and Greenwich Open. Listen, that man had all the experience in the world. And last side come back and beat them. So I don't want to celebrate too early because we beat up Montserrat. But I expect that Trinidad is going to beat French Guyana. I don't know what is their football record, but it can't be good. I expect us to walk over that. Or beat that team. I don't want to use words like walk over. Now let me calm myself down. Stacey says get too excited about Trinidad football. I calm myself down. But should we get past French Guyana, I think our first game in the Gold Cup is going to be against Mexico. So I'm hoping we have all the soldiers on board for a game like that. But let me give them a salute again, man. They're my side, you know. My side.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
And we're gathered here for the game of your life. Lovely, lovely, lovely. I want to see you put your flags up in the air right now. Sing.
Right, all I could only get one. I ain't lying. I ain't getting all the rest. Let me see about French Guyana first now. And then we could finish all the rest of celebration, right? I just want to imagine this. I'll celebrate getting into the World Cup. So you see, you take nothing for granted. We're going to play French Guyana. We could beat them. And then we're going to celebrate being in the World Cup. And who knows, Guy Griffith could come back and make his debut and so on and hot up the place, you know what I mean, when we face Mexico and we beat them up too. So we can wait for that and we'll update when that time comes. All right, let's play a song here. Hour and a half. Or they can't tell me that we're not 2 hour episode. There you go. Hour and a half and they done. So let me leave you with a song. I butcher a whole brigo at the beginning of the song, playing the fool as usual. So let me leave you with what is my favorite brigo, right? Brigo is the best looking calypsonian ever, you know. And listen, I'm going to play the original version. You probably know the song, but this is not the version that they usually play on the radio and the popular version. So I want to get the original version of my favorite Brigo song. Tell me if you know it. Yes? Listen to the voice, eh?
I know my back in pain. Oh Lord, it is really sad to tell you about the child is that we go harder. You may say I'm mad when I tell you about the child is I really had
The man I fight to run, I'm the better looking one.
As you all could see, she used to beat me just like if I wasn't his son. One day Granny said to she, "Do beat Mama Popo, do beat Mama Popo." Granny tell she, "I warn you already, like if you want to spoil the child. Beauty, you done make the picnic, and now you're beating it like you crazy Betty. I love him a lot, he is the prettiest Grand Popo that I got. I sure you don't know, when I was small I was a marathon Popo. She got in me toe, and a big head that really had me couldn't grow. Yes, my mama used to let me sleep on the floor. From my head to my toe, they cover with sore. Because I was the best looking child among the rest. You know, my mommy wanted to kill me with flesh. Do beat Mama Popo, do beat Mama Popo. Granny tell she, I warn you already, like if you want to spoil the child. Beauty, you done made the picnic, and now you're beating it like you crazy Betty. Please hear what I say. You say my Razni Popo go mind you someday.
Yes?
My loving granny, you know she died when I was around 23. And my dear mommy, the thing that she done to me, friends, I forgive she. If I only had my mommy had hurt in she's, I would gone and called the doctor already. Don't mind, she used to treat me like she going out she had, but the love for my mother will never dead. Go beat Mama Popo, go beat Mama Popo. Granny tell she, I warn you already, like if you want to spoil the child. Beauty, my mommy get angry. You know she take me and send me down by daddy. She give me away, but I still live to take care of she today.
Goodbye.